Hey, my name is Chris Bowman. This is That's My Point. This video here is called Homeboy. And I'm going to give you multiple reasons why you should not gang bang or join a gang when you get to prison. Why you don't have to. And I am going to give a few benefits of it. But I would think the negative consequences of joining a gang override the positive consequences. Okay. Now, I did time in TDC. Scratch my back. Sorry. Okay. I did time in TDC, right? And every state. Hold on a second. I had to hit the old vaporoonie. Every state is a little different. Every state penitentiary is a little different. But in TDC, you got, when I was down, there was West Texas, Tango Blast, and Tango Blast and West Texas were affiliated with one another. They weren't the same gang, but they were riding with one another. So if you mess with the West Texas cat, Tango Blast would have your back. Tango used to mean together against gang organizations. So, but it grew into an actual gang. It used to be just a clique full of Mexicans that were against other gangs. Okay, but it turned into an actual gang to become Tango Blast. Then there's, like I said, West Texas, Aryan Brotherhood, which wasn't really big. It was more of a wood thing where I was at. I was at the Lionel unit. And it was the Woods, Pecker Woods. Then you had the Paisas, which was a gang, really small group. There wasn't many of them, but they were from down south, way down south, like almost in Brazil. Let me see. And then, of course, you had your Crips and Bloods, and then the Juggalos, which had like 3 people. That was the ICP gang, which I really wouldn't consider them a gang. No offense, Juggalos, but I mean, when you got 2 people on a unit, and but I'm not going to go into details of that. Anyways, but yeah, those were your main gangs. There was like the Aztecas at one point, which for some reason they weren't really around. I remember, this is before I went to TDC. This is when I was in jail. I was hearing this. There was the Latin Kings. Didn't hear much about them. And I don't know what happened. I didn't ride with a gang, so that was none of my business. You just hear stuff, you know. And then you have your Christians, which the ones that stay out the way. And then the solo. And I was solo and a Christian. Still am to this day. Still a Bible thumper. But, so with those gangs, you have the option to join. Now, when you're in the county, and this is what happened to my little brother. When you're in the county, you got all these people telling these stories, and if it's your first time, you get filled up with fear. Of course, you're not going to say it. And my brother was young. He was facing 25 years is what they were originally trying to give him. He robbed 4 gas stations at gunpoint, being high on K2 and crack. And so, and then he's mingling with the wrong people. The kid's lost. He don't know how to act in jail. You know, he's farting all the time, and that's a very disrespectful thing in prison. And he's just, being young. So they're putting stuff in his head. Before he even goes to prison, he joins a certain gang that he should have not have joined, which it didn't last because he ended up just becoming a Peckerwood when it was all said and done. But number one reason why you shouldn't join a gang, because once you do, you have made a covenant with them. You have signed a contract with a group of people that you are held accountable to. So when a homeboy tells you, hey, I need you to take this bag of coffee over to E-Dorm. Knowing that it's an out of place case, but you got to get that bag of coffee over there. You got to ride with them no matter what they say you need to do. If they, hey, need you to take care of that. That dude over there disrespected us. Need you and so to go over there and jump them. You have to jump them. If you don't, you're going to get smashed out or disciplined, one of the two. And if you do anything out of line, you get disciplined, which 4 or 5 of them jump on you, beat the crap out of you, and that's your discipline that they call your D. I met a real cool guy on the bus going to prison, but he already had, it was his second number, but he was already hit because he had West Texas wrote on his knuckles. So, but when we got to the unit, he was standoffish. He didn't want nothing to do with anybody that was solo. He had to be that way. So you have to be a certain way, do things a certain way, and there's no organization to it. There's no 100% guaranteed way of doing things. It's whatever a person's opinion is and thoughts on it is how stuff gets done. But you got to listen, no matter what it is. No matter what it is, you got it. You are no longer you. You are whatever gang that you have joined. That's your title, okay? So that's one reason. You have to do whatever they say. You are locked in, okay? Number 2 reason why you shouldn't join a gang, because there's no reason to. All those stories you hear in county, and I'm talking to the first timer. The second timer is already going to realize this, and I'm speaking for mainly TDC. I can't speak for prisons in Florida, Virginia, Illinois. Okay, this is how it is in Texas. I went to an ID unit. That's where people are serving life. I didn't go to a transfer facility. I did the first couple months, and then they transferred me to a facility where you're doing 5 years or more. And it's crazy, since I had a 5-year sentence, I qualified to go to an ID unit. But overall, I'm glad that I did, because, man, it was so much more laid back than a transfer facility. You got a bunch of young dudes, short timers who don't care, going bonkers. I went to an ID unit. It was really laid back. But there's still politics. There's still a wood bench. There's still a West Texas bench. You still need to sit down with your race. But it wasn't hardcore politics. Like, if you were solo, that was respected. But number 2 reason why you shouldn't join a gang is because there's no need to. I'm telling you right now, I was solo. And I didn't have an issue with anybody. I got into a few confrontations, but it wasn't gang related. And I didn't need anybody to have my back. Any issue that I ran into, I was very capable of handling myself. And it's like I said in yesterday's video, if you get your head smashed in, but you stood up for yourself, you're still going to get the same respect as if you lost, as if you've won that fight. You know, you got to have heart. That's all it is. You got to have heart. I never got into a fight. Came close a couple times, but I never got into a fight. You know, when you go to prison, you don't need homeboys to have your back. It's not like that. People are. There was not one rape in prison. There was one time where a punk accused another inmate of raping him, and then when it came down to it, he backed out of his story and just said that they were having intercourse. And now, I don't know all the details of it, but other than that, you got real life punks running around in there. So, I mean, the reason to rape somebody, you don't have to. Like, there's not the people that are into that stuff. You don't have to rape anybody. It's there. You want some man booty? Go get some man booty. But you're not getting your cheeks snatched up. It's not happening. Extortion is at a bare minimum. You know, they did this thing years ago called PREA. I don't know how PREA affected other states' prisons, but I know in Texas, even the county jails, it did a lot. It did a lot, because now you don't go to the hole for shanking somebody and that's it. No, you get free world charges stacked on your original charge. So if you're doing a 5-year sentence and you steal somebody's stuff, you're getting theft charges and extortion stacked onto your original sentence with your parole snatched. And the way that they do parole in Texas is, okay, so I had a 5-year sentence. You will see the parole board your first time down 12% into your sentence. No matter if it's 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, you do 12% of your sentence, which I seen parole when I was still in the transfer facility. And then I was on the ID unit, I would say 6 months, and I got approved. But then they got to get a home address, they got a call to make sure and all the paperwork go through. So it took more time for that. So my total sentence, because I didn't catch any major cases, that son is killing me. My total sentence was 18 months on a 5-year sentence. So if you get sentenced to 4 years, you're looking at anywhere from, I mean, you could get out in 8 months. It's a possibility. I've seen it happen. 8 months to 12 months. I mean, it's very, very short time, especially if you're a second-time offender. There's a chance you could still make your first parole. If you don't, you'll make your second. And then third-time offender, third parole. That's just how that works. But the way TDC's set up, ain't nobody trying to catch a major case. So all this fighting and cigarette smoking and being raped, and with the PREA and the combination of how parole works, because if you get a major case, you get your parole straight snatched up from you. Okay? My brother went down. He ended up getting 12 years, which was awesome for what he did. He robbed 4 gas stations. I already said that, at gunpoint. And they tried to give him 25, his first offer, and then his second offer was 12 years. He didn't want that, but I mean, I'm sure now that he looks back at it, he's like, that was a deal, because it was. You can't rob 4 gas stations at gunpoint and expect anything less than 12 years. It was his first time. He had no record. 12 years aggravated. In an aggravated charge, you got to do half. But he went down there expecting to do 6 years, catching major case after major case because he was young, joined a gang, all that craziness, ended up doing 11 and a half years on that 12 when he could have got out in 6. Could have got out in 6 years. But if you have a non-aggravated charge and it's your first time down, there's no reason to join a gang, because you're putting yourself at risk. Because when they fight, you fight. When they steal, you steal. When anything goes down, you're involved. That's you. When homeboy goes and has to fight somebody and he's getting beat up, you're supposed to jump in. And if you don't, you get disciplined or smashed out, one of the two. It's just not worth it, man. It's just not worth it. Like I said, I went down. There was some people that came up on me. Hey, you would? What are you doing? Solo. They seen that I was real about the Bible reading, that I lived it, that I was faithful about it. And but if you go in there and you're trying to read the Bible just out of fear, to say, hey, hold the Bible up to cover yourself up. Look, everybody, don't mess with me. Look what I'm doing. That's not going to work. They're going to smell it. They're going to know. They're going to know. So, and I'm still, to this day, I read the Bible every freaking day. I wake up faithfully and read at least a chapter. Right now I'm in Romans, and I love it. I'm so glad that I took the time out when I was in prison to learn the Word of God. It's one of the best things that ever happened to me. But you just don't have to. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. Now, and I could get into more reasons, but those are the two main reasons. Is you don't have to, and you're held accountable to whatever they tell you to do, you're going to have to do. Okay? And but there are benefits. And one of the benefits is you're going to eat good. Gang members take care of other gang members. That's just how it is. You're not going to go hungry in there. You don't have to wash laundry like I did. I was the laundry man, and I did that a lot in state jail. TDC, I didn't really wash much laundry. I just went hungry. I was hungry a lot. But it was rough, man, like sitting at night, because they feed you at sometimes 3:30, 4 o'clock. And you get back, you're still hungry because your tray didn't fill you up. And then you got to go all the way until breakfast, which was like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. But the whole time you're smelling the food that everybody's making and crushing up chips. And you got 6 people around a table, and there's this big old pile of food, and all you can do is look. All you can do is look. So you're going to eat good. That's for sure. When you're affiliated, the gang members do take care of other gang members when it comes to making sure that they eat. Let me turn my van off, burning up gas. But um, and also you're almost untouchable. Like you can, that ain't gonna work. You're almost untouchable. I mean, you can still get into a fight, but when you fight one, you got to fight all of them. You can't just uh, peel off on a gang member, and there's going to be consequences to that. Now, I remember one time, uh, I don't know if he was West Texas or what he was. He was affiliated with somebody. He was Mexican, and he was locked down in his cell. We was in a dorm for some reason. He was on disciplinary. The hole was filled up, so they were just putting people, keeping them in the dorm, but putting them in their cell for a certain amount of time. I let him borrow my pencil sharpener, right? These pencil sharpeners were small, but they had a screw that screwed the blade on, so you could take that blade off. It's a brand new pencil sharpener. A couple days goes by. I ask him, "Hey, you got my pencil sharpener?" Yeah, yeah. He gives it back to me. Dull as freaking crap, dude. He changed the blade out, is what he did, so he could have my blade. And man, I don't know why that made me so mad, but dude, I went off, kicking his door and everything, man. And it's a good thing he was in a gang because his homeboys seen how this guy was, so they were always like uh, not sticking up for him, but like talking crap to him, like man. And then the head gang member of that dorm actually bought me a new pencil sharpener when commissary came, which was really cool because that's how that works. Because that dude in that cell represented that gang, it was up to them to make it right because they knew that he was wrong. He never admitted to it, but they all knew he did it. So, and that was really cool because when he came out the cell, when the door popped, he came out to fight me. And his homeboy got in the way, said, no, 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 you're wrong, and made him get back in the cell. And then a week later, bought me a pencil sharpener, which was cool. That was really cool. I'm glad I didn't have to fight that guy. I didn't want to, but I was so mad at the time I didn't care. I'm just glad that I didn't because I would have lost my parole. And that's just how it works in TDC. But other than that, I never really got into too many fusses like that. My cellie, my first cellie, who was extremely rude, man. I think he was extremely racist, is what it was. He was a paisa, right? And there's only like five or six of them in the whole unit. And I had, man, every cellie I had after that. Well, I didn't really have cellies after that because I went to O dorm, which was cubicles. But really, my whole time, like ever doing time, county jail, state jail, TDC, I never had a bad cellie. He was the only one. Man, he used to sit there and play because you can grab your headphones and make a speaker. Man, them speakers are loud. I can't believe how loud you can make a speaker out of a headphone. A headphone. These speakers would bang, have bass and everything. He thought it was okay in the morning when he woke up, when I'm still sleeping, to play music. Not only was it music, it was music from where he's from, which I don't understand. I don't know what they're saying. It's like I can't enjoy it because it's not Mexican music. It's like the South Brazilian, like the deepest Mexican music that you can get. He wasn't. I don't know if he was from Brazil or from South Mexico, but he did this like 3 4 days in a row. All right. And then by the fourth day, I popped up, man, and jumped up off my bunk. I said, dude, you're going to learn to respect me in this cell. And we started going back and forth. He barely spoke English. But I got up in his face, and once he realized I was going to swing off on him, he backed down. He never played his music loud ever again. And that's how you got to be in prison. You got to be strict to where you can't let people disrespect you. And that was disrespectful because he kept doing it because he thought he could get away with it. Really, he shouldn't. I shouldn't have let him get away with it for as long as he did. I mean, this was the fourth day. Like the first day, I should have got up and said something. Maybe I was a little aggressive about it, but I knew I had to be because I was in the cell with this guy. I think 2 3 weeks by then, and I had sensed that he did not respect me. He did not respect me because he was in the cell before me. He thought he ran that cell. He tried to tell me what days I'm going to clean the cell. Like, no, that's not how that's going to work, buddy. Like, you're not running. I'm not running nothing, but you're not running nothing either. I guarantee that. This is equal 50-50. I don't give a crap. But I got moved out of the cell. We ended up getting along. Like, I'd see him on the unit and shake his hand. And he stabbed somebody. He was in there for 7 years for stabbing somebody. It was an aggravated charge, so he had to do half. But, man, he used to eat in front of me, dude. You know when you got a cellie, you're not supposed to, like, eat in front of him every day without offering a soup once or twice a week. Like, that's just not cool. That's another thing that he did that bothered me. But he used to make, man, and I was on the top bunk. So it's how it worked was there was a bunk here up top, and then you had the bunk on the bottom. Right next to his bunk was the desk, right? He used to make his food right there. So when I'm up top after lockdown and I'm laying down reading my book, that smell would come up and I would be starving, dude. And, oh, I hated it. I hated it. I'm like, you son of a gun, man. And a big old bowl he would make too. And the leftovers, he'd have a lot of leftovers, throw it out. Wouldn't offer me half or a quarter or hey, you want to bite? You want to try this? Bad celly. He was a bad celly all the way through. Even his homeboys didn't really care for him. But anyways, yeah. So if you're a first timer, man, there's no reason. There's no reason at all to join a gang. You don't have to join a gang. You just don't have to. Don't let people think that you got these people that's been to prison in the 90s and they're still stuck in that 90 way of doing time. Like, that's not how it is anymore. Especially in TDC. I can't speak as much for other states, but I know how TDC is ran. And just go down there, and I'm going to probably say this in every prison video that I do. Mind your own business and show respect. You do those two things, man, you're going to get along just fine. I met some of the coolest people in my life in prison. I've met some of the smartest, intelligent, coolest people in prison. I really have. I met a lot of solid people, man. I don't want my battery to die. My key was clicked over. That's all I got, man. And you guys have a good day. This is Chris Bowman, and that's my point.